boy.
To a filthy talk. A filthy lots. Sorry, there's a dog barking, and it threw me off my rhythm. A filthy talk is a filthy lot. Live weekly panel discussion show. We're coming at you live from North Vancouver on Indigenous land, and we'd just like to acknowledge the privilege it is to work, play, and create on these beautiful lands. I'm Trevor Gemma. This is Roz Young, and what do we have to do first here? We have some business to settle,
Business.
right?
There's giveaways.
Okay, so from last week's episode, we need to settle this up. We have this Blu-ray copy of Sonic the Hedgehog that we only had 2 people qualify for. So just gotta have the names ready.
The chances are good.
Oh,
I actually liked this movie.
I enjoyed it too. Jim Carrey was pretty good in it. He was a lot of fun. He's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. And the whole thing about the Sonic redo with the VFX, wild.
Yeah, that was a crazy story.
Wild.
Okay, so we're gonna toss a coin instead of drawing a name.
He's good at that.
Oh, heads. So Capri Smith, you are the winner of Sonic the Hedgehog. Hey. Okay, so our marketing team will get a hold of you for that, and quickly to set up our next giveaway. They just keep coming. We have to give away to you lovely folks at home, Rambo First Blood, Rambo First Blood Part 2, which I've always hated that title, Rambo 3, and then...
But do you love it more over time?
I mean, I love to hate it. And Rambo, because that's not confusing.
Ooh. Which one's the first one? It's so weird.
Yeah, so these are all 4K Ultra HD plus Blu-ray plus
prize.
Digital download. So all 4 of these courtesy of LIONSGATE, and to qualify for these, you need to subscribe to Filthy Lot YouTube channel. And after this video is done, comment below it with Rambo Giveaway and tell us what did I say for this?
You had something.
It's in the description below on how to qualify for it.
That's the extra challenge today, is you have to also know how to read.
I forgot what I said. I set it up earlier and I forgot. So read the description and it'll tell you how to qualify.
It's Friday.
Yeah,
It's like,
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time. Okay.
Welcome to the world still. You see all those memes going around that are like 2020 and it's like, and then 2021, worse.
Yeah. I saw one with Tom Hanks and it was like him as Forrest Gump, and then 2021 is him from Castaway on the island, like disheveled.
Yeah, it's going great, guys.
Yeah, so before we get into the meat of today's episode, we'll just quickly touch on what's new in nerd news.
What's new in nerd news?
The thing that I'm kind of sad about is the game Anthem.
I remember you playing this game.
It was a lot of fun, and it had a lot of controversy around it when it came out, because the fans went crazy because they didn't feel like they got what they were promised from the game. But the game was
That's a reasonable reason to go crazy.
Yeah, but there was like a lot of hype for it. I guess the game didn't meet up to a lot of people's expectations, but it worked. Unlike Cyberpunk at first. But they were.
That's a low bar.
But it got caught in this like weird overshadowing of people were like loot boxes and they were upset about having to pay for stuff. But the game came out with the promise that you bought the game and then all the DLCs in the future would be free. Like you just get all this new content as it was ready. And they were developing stuff, but BioWare announced that they're officially pulling the plug on Anthem. So I'm kind of sad about it.
I'm ready for bigger, better, new things.
Yeah,
if it wasn't going to work and it wasn't going to happen, bring it on.
I mean,
we all had the game that we were just like, you promised me something else.
The mechanics were really cool and unique. Like you could run around and basically it was like 4 different versions of Iron Man running around.
What's your game though that was like, they promised me something else and you were so miserable that you felt really like cheated by the whole...
Oh.
Because Cyberpunk worked okay enough for me that I was like, I'm still in.
Yeah, Cyberpunk, I just had to get over my own like preconceptions of what I thought it would be.
I had some Battlefront issues.
And then I enjoyed it. Oh, you know what? It was the relaunch of Battlefront. Because I played the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2 like crazy. And then, that first battle, they just...
And I honestly didn't play No Man's Sky until it was already fixed. So I was like, this game's great. People are crazy.
Oh, yeah. I haven't touched Cyberpunk in a while. I'm hoping it's different. But I heard
game news. If anybody else has game news, share them below. Chat. Blah, 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 most I have like TV stuff. So renewals came out for what's coming up. And The Simpsons renewed again for 2 more seasons.
Wow.
That is seasons 33 and 34, which means that by the time we get to the end of season 34, they will have produced 757 episodes of The Simpsons.
Ooh.
It's crazy.
That's nuts.
It's crazy. And Macaroni was talking about how, fun news, Bart will celebrate his 10th birthday for the 33rd time. And something I'm not happy about, Milhouse is getting contacts. What? He can't not have glasses?
Well, that's
we need
weird.
to have glasses representation.
It sounds like everything's coming out Milhouse. That's those voice actors must be just sick of those characters.
I think they actually, I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I don't know them all personally, but, you know.
They're at the point where some of them are just going to start dying. Like, holy crap, 34 seasons.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy.
What do you do if Harry Shearer goes down? He's old. Yeah. That's exciting.
Everyone's fine, Trevor. Things are fine.
Simpsons kind of lost me like, I don't know, 10 years ago.
Hey, people in the chat, when's the last time you actually watched an episode of The Simpsons?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Good question. I'm really into asking chat questions today.
Well, if you would like to participate in the chat, feel free to
Yeah, I'm just
please
gonna
go do that.
throw my notes.
And we can make a little space to bring out some other people.
Well, cheers.
Thanks for being here.
Okay,
thanks
I'm
for
gonna
going over
quickly just grab a little.
Oh,
and,
I'm just going to cover my drink. Yeah. Okay, while Roz does that, it is my pleasure to welcome, whoa, what? I mean, I set that up last week and now I'm just leaving it here, but this is our exclusive variant cover that is for the premiere that happened last Sunday of season 2 of Drawn and Cornered, which is on the back cover. But we got, there's only 500 of these in the world, and the only way to get them is to subscribe to our other YouTube channel, which is Filthy Fandom. And we're going to be randomly giving these away to subscribers of that channel. So go do that after this show. So it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage a few people, all of which have been on the show before. So familiar faces for some of you. First up, we have my double brother, Casey Gemma. Come on out, brother. Oh, yeah.
Applause, wow.
Leave it on. After that, you know him from previous Filthy Talks and also from Keddy's Kitchen. That's right, the one and only Keddy. Nicholas Kedrock.
Oh, I love this introduction thing now.
It's fun, right?
Yeah, it's great.
And most recently, you saw him on our Twitch channel as the DM for a 1979 classic White Plume Mountain, which you can still check out on Twitch for like another week. The one, the only, Charles Koetke. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Yes!
We're good.
Yes!
Hi.
Welcome, and thank you for DMing that. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for sure.
Yeah.
We had a good time.
And relevant to what we're talking about today, because today we are going to, not only, but we're going to get into a little bit more of a look at the big flagship show we've been working on, Ready to Roll, which is a D&D show. Yeah, and today we're focusing on, as the title of the show is it's time to light the lights. So it's time to, roll the camera and throw up some shade. But yeah, we're going to focus on our cinema department. So thank you guys for being here and representing.
Thanks for having us.
Amazing work.
Thank you.
The first thing I have to say is it's a really impressive what you guys pull off as our cinema department, because it's typically such a massive undertaking. Like there's usually anywhere from 10 to 30 grips that are on the rigging crew, 10 to 30 electrics that are on a rigging crew, depending on the size of the show, that are getting all that stuff done before the shooting crew gets there. And then the shooting crew has, 5 to 12 guys on it, depending on how big they are, like for lighting and grips. And we've got 2 guys in each department, which is nuts. Like absolutely nuts.
It's been insane, yeah. For sure.
So I just want to applaud the whole department for knocking it out of the freaking park.
Yeah.
That
being said, we are missing 2 people that I would like to throw out. Caleb, which is actually helping camera. He's part of my department in grips.
Yeah.
So I want to say thank you very much.
And GURPS.
And Brooks Robinson.
Yes.
And yeah, without those 2, we would not be able to accomplish what we accomplish.
Yeah, man.
Because those guys, they work really hard.
Damn right. Shout out. Oh, is Caleb coming around the camera?
Yeah, he wants to get
Okay, so just realized something. We didn't talk about this, Alex. But we have a little video to play of watching you guys at work from behind the scenes of Ready to Roll.
Oh, cool.
So you guys haven't seen this yet.
I've
It's going to be
not.
like a unicorn. You'll never see it.
But yeah, it's okay. So Alex, if you want to roll ye old video, please, sir.
Hello there. You must be the daughter. Yes.
Are they doing audio?
Give us music for this.
Nice finish.
Golden.
It's kind of cool, right? To take a look at like.
Yeah, that was that. It's where you don't get to see yourself
No.
work ever. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we make movies here.
Yeah, we're making this pretty crazy, ambitious projects. I don't even know where to start. But like with this show, what kind of like challenges have you guys faced that you normally aren't used to? I mean, we've acknowledged the fact that we don't have the manpower you typically would have, but aside from that, what kind of stuff has come up shooting this show? What's different about the nature of it from what you're used to in regular?
I mean, it's a little bit of having to creative problem solve kind of like, yeah, we don't have manpower, but we also don't have, we have a lot of stuff, but compared to, you know, the Avengers or something, we don't have anything.
Yeah.
So we're working with less manpower, less space, less.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of gear, but we have less gear in you know, in the scheme of things. So it's kind of less on every aspect. So
Yeah.
just creative problem solving for everything. The biggest probably save is that we have such a good team. So it's like, yeah, this is a problem. Like, for instance, you know, the green screen's so close to the window. It's like, oh, that sucks. But we have a TA who's going to handle it. Like, oh, you know, all these problems come up. It's like, oh, we have someone that can handle it. So probably just teamwork that sounds super cliche, but that's really, without that, you know, then nothing would work on what we're trying to do. And we're trying to do something very ambitious.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
Yeah. Well, has there been any like specific instances where it was a creative solution that you can remember that like wasn't just, you know, throw more guys at it or a different piece of gear, but like something you had to come up with on the fly that was kind of unorthodox?
I don't. Do you guys have any? Because a lot of what we do is not on the fly. Like because of the nature of it, we have to know our lighting setups kind of like, yeah, we're doing some ground players, but for the most part, it's all rigged ahead of time so that we don't, you know, normally if I had, you know, access to 24 people, like, oh, get that light there, do that, and it wouldn't be a problem. We don't have that, so that all has to be in place, and it's kind of just me telling Casey what to turn on, as opposed to physically, let's get the light up there. The light already has to be there with the team that we're working with because it's so small. So all the
Oh, I mean, I don't want to totally derail you, Keddy, but there's a good question from chat. People who were watching last week are thinking about the pyramid set. And Capri, winner of the prize, is asking about lighting the upside down pyramid. And is that from the grid? Is there lights below? How do you guys do a space that big and something so crazy like that?
Take it away, Casey.
It's a little bit of both. Like we have lights rigged in the sky, but they're all rigged on fly pipes so that we can raise them and lower them as we need them. So if we're looking in one direction and we want to bring up the value on the walls, then we can bring a light down if it's not seen, and then that can shed more light on the walls so that they show more detail.
As well as the set itself really helps us out because we're not in a tunnel, but we're in an area where more or less light can only come from above us.
Yeah.
So it really helps us that we can have lights. Granted, we have some ground players to make things look pretty, but we're in these tight walls, so there wouldn't be all this natural light hitting us from the walls that would, that you would assume if you were outside. So it's a lot easier for us to augment just the light above us than it is, light coming from every direction.
But I mean, even in that video, people saw that there's a daytime and a nighttime look within those walls. So then you don't have that light coming from one direction.
But the nighttime look was a hoot for sure, because I normally don't like when flesh is lit with primary colors. I think it's just very bizarre. And then going into this, I was like, ugh. I have to kind of light people with these colors, because where else is it coming from? And then, funny enough, one day I came downstairs. I don't know what it was for, but Casey just had the
I know what that was
the space lights going, and I was like, I was like, Casey, would it be totally weird if we this looks great, even though we're just messing around? Can we curse on this?
Well, yeah.
Even though we're just messing around. We don't need to curse. We're just messing around, and it looked great, though. And I was like, Casey, I think we stumbled upon the look that we're going to do for the night. And hey, I thought it looked great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked really cool. It was, that came from, we were working on a collaboration with a DJ team. We were going to do a live stream.
That's what it was. That's why they were
some
up.
DJs for Christmas for an event that they typically run. And circumstances arose. It couldn't happen, but while working on that lighting setup, it was a eureka moment, which
exactly
was pretty cool.
But again, that set wouldn't have worked if it wasn't for, the art department and their flower lights and things like that. It really is, it's super cliche, but it's a teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
Then we have a question.
Chat's still curious about the kinds of lights you use, and Jamie has jumped in, and James says it's probably just light bulbs. So, she's all over it.
We have one of them featured over behind Kedrock and Chuck. That's an S60 sky panel. We have 14 of those suspended in the sky, and they're wrapped with these things called space light bags, and that allows them to be like a big soft source that kind of goes in all directions.
Beautiful. James would also like to know why Chuck has a ginger ale and a beer.
He's a true blue Canadian. What do you mean?
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Do you drink them for the same
I'm
time?
almost done, so I needed something, so I just brought, and I couldn't find any more. And Andrew and Caleb was able to get me one.
Oh, there's this too.
Oh,
Do these work? Do these work?
Yeah, but don't
what's in
just
there?
randomly pour.
Well,
I think
yeah,
it's a
but-
sour.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
What do you think this is? A fake movie set with fake stuff on it?
You never know. You never know.
So Chuck, as how long have you been playing D&D?
Since 10.
Wow.
9.
Dang.
So
Yeah, my brother
60
got me
years.
into it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, back in, it was Satanic. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. I remember that. Like that wasn't something that kept me away from it as a kid. I just didn't play till I was an adult. But like I
Wait,
remember
what do you mean
when
it
there
was
was
satanic? Like D&D used to be satanic?
In the early 80s, like we went like 79 to 82, it was considered very satanic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so actually, like book burnings and stuff, like technically
Wow, okay.
D&D books were banned in schools. And
yeah, it had a real bad like.
Just because of the wizards and stuff like that? Or like
the
magic
demons.
and all demons? Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense.
And they tied it in with like Ouija boards and stuff. They thought it was the same.
Yeah, don't let your kids play this, or they're gonna end up in the streets.
Yeah, all right.
So
Yeah.
when you joined us, like, what was your reaction when you heard that we were doing a D&D show?
well, it was Nor who talked to me.
Yeah.
And you guys were actually shooting on the Sundays. You guys had just started doing your actual gameplay.
Right.
And I think it was the second or third episode that you guys were starting to film. It was on a Sunday. So I talked to Nor, can I just come down even as a volunteer? And he's
Wait,
like, I don't think we can pay you. I don't think we can pay you. I'm like, I just want to come actually see what you guys are doing. I came down. I just kind of volunteered that day. That was the one day where I still remember this. I show up, and you weren't the DP at the time. We're standing there, and the gentleman who was in charge of it at that time, he's like, "We can't shoot until that double moves." And I'm just like, oh my God. And it was like right over top of the table. Like, it was so shitty. And I'm just like, oh my God. And I'm like, what's going on? And you're like, just help me get a ladder. Like, he turns to me and just help me get a ladder. So I get him a ladder, and here's Kenny just like fucking leaning way over the thing. I'm just like, what is going on? This is insane. So we spent like a couple of hours, and then finally we wrapped it up, and Nora's like, so what do you think? I'm like, I think I need to come and see one more. but the show that I was on, we were starting to do weekends and nights and all that stuff. So then the next time I came, I think it was the second last episode that you guys were doing your gameplay. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I want to come in on Sunday and check it out. And he's like, I don't think we could pay you. I'm like, I just want to come see what it is. And then I came in, and at that point, a couple of things had changed from because there was how many episodes in between there? There was probably a few. Because I think you guys were doing, what, 2 a day or something?
We were doing 4 a day.
4 a day, that's it.
We shot 4 hours. Each episode's about an hour of gameplay.
How many weekends did we shoot?
7.
Yeah.
7, okay.
7 weekends in a row at the time. So Roz is our DM, and we only had Roz available. She was working on a different show at the time.
Oh, right.
I don't know if I can say what it was.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It was, wait, which was it? It was Air...
It was with Air, but I was working on Pup Academy. You can watch it on Netflix.
Pup Academy.
Pup Academy.
But we only could have Roz come and join us on Sundays, so we were shooting gameplay on consecutive Sundays, which was good because it gave Roz time to, based on what us idiots did in gameplay, take a week to sort of recoup and change things that she had planned in accordance with, because there was a lot of planning that went into this show, because it's not just a D&D game. We knew that we were going to be shooting it. But yeah, sorry for keeping you on your toes there, Roz. Well, I don't know, maybe it helped. Maybe I'm not sorry. I forgot.
You're not sorry, you liar.
I forgot you weren't working here.
I was volunteering.
Yeah, it's so funny. I look back at it, and I just, like, in my head, you were part of the team. That's crazy.
In my head, I remember exactly when Chuck came in, because I remember, like...
I even asked, do you guys have a flop?
There was...
So I built flops out of duvetine and forma frames just to put it up as courtesies. I'm just I don't know what the fuck is going on here.
I remember exactly when Chuck came on, because before that, I was in charge of designing this grid thing that I had no idea how to do. And it was just like, I spent every day like, oh God, it's just a matter of time before this all collapses. But then Chuck, not literally all collapses, but like, just like, oh God, like really stressed out. And then Chuck came in and was like, oh God, like Chuck, like as the one conversation was like, oh, this guy knows so much more than me. This is great. Like, this is perfect. I loved it. Yeah, I remember exactly when that was.
Are we talking about the thing in there?
No, remember the telehandler?
How we had to do the telehandler rig and all that. Granted, we had a professional design it and build it and all that. Yeah. But still, the whole thing was just like, God, I just really wish there was a guy that maybe had 30 years experience as a key grip to really kill this thing.
I do think that was quite smart to use the telehandler.
That was,
for that set, it made sense, yeah.
I don't know.
It was actually a nice rig.
It was a great rig.
Especially like with the 1x1 box truss and all that stuff.
It sounds like a lot of fancy film words that maybe you guys should explain a little bit for the audience.
Yeah, that's a good call.
We had a telehandler is a, the worst thing is that I'm forgetting who built that for us. I'm forgetting his name, and he's awesome. He kicked ass. Nora hooked him up with me.
Is it Adam?
No, he was with us on Lost in Space.
He's so good at what he does, and I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Anyways, this awesome guy.
It was Bryce, right?
Bryce.
Yeah.
Bryce.
Yeah, it was
Bryce.
That's it.
Bryce. Bryce? Bryce.
Yeah.
We had a guy that
small, nice, clean
awesome,
beard,
yeah,
always a clean,
awesome,
shaved beard.
classic,
it was crazy.
Real
Spent more time
professional.
on his beard than working, I think.
So essentially, it was we knew we needed a lot of light over this area in which we had no way of putting lights above us. So we designed what's called a grid, which is essentially like a series of checkered bars that you can hang things from. But this was all suspended from a telehandler, which is like a
forklift on steroids.
Forklift on steroids, exactly.
A forklift that has a big prongs that extend like crazy.
It's got a boom.
Yeah, so we had the grid hanging off of that, right?
Yeah.
And that was holding that.
Exactly, yeah, and it had two
Strapped to the
legs.
forks, like
It had
the-
legs. And then I had a series of, no one knows this, I had a series of ink pens all over the rig, and I would come every day after work and like take measurements and check them to make sure nothing was like moving. And I would call Bryce like, hey man, it moved a 30 seconds of an inch. She's like, dude, you're good. Like, you're fine. I was just so stressed out about that.
Well, at that point, because if it did change like a half-inch, what it was doing is because there was those uprights.
Yeah,
And if
yeah.
it was actually dropped by an inch, that means there's a lot of pressure on those uprights. So then you actually have to start it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
which
had
we ended up doing.
It settled
We
over
did
time.
end up doing a bit of a raise halfway
Yeah, remember
through,
I just got in and I feathered it up a little bit.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
The people listening have no idea what we're talking about right now.
So me and Kedrock had to take a course in order to operate the
telehandler.
telehandler,
Yeah.
the boom forklift. And after the course, like I had operated them before, but I'd never officially got my certification.
Yeah.
So I got my certification, and then he got his, and he's like, oh, it's come down quite a bit. What do we do? And I was like, we can just feather it. Which feathering it means you can just raise it up really slowly.
Very
so
lightly.
that
In my head, if I
give it
was
a
gonna,
little
like,
bit.
I saw myself doing it and just like, you know, something like that. And I was like, I don't want to touch that thing. Casey was like, dude, I got it. I was
Yeah.
just so terrified by that whole thing. It was just like, one of those fake until you make it, but it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have faked it.
So Chuck, you've been in the industry for a fair while, right?
Film and theater, yep.
Oh, and theater.
Stage and
I
all
didn't know
that.
you worked in stage.
Yeah.
Man used to work for Prince.
What?
What?
And before that, I was on tour, and I was an actor.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
wow.
And I was a dancer, and then,
Jack of all trades, this guy.
A dancer?
yeah.
Chuck can
What
bust a
dancer?
move.
How?
What
River
kind of
dance.
dancer?
Tap.
Tap.
Tap, nice.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, and then from there, I went into being a drummer, and then we started doing some big tours, opening up for some great Canadian acts. And then at that point, we wanted to save a little bit of money. So I was like, okay, I'll go to school and I'll learn more about sound and lights. So that way we don't have to pay anyone for it. And then I went to college, got my degree in theater. And then actually I became a set designer after that. So I left the band and started traveling North America building sets.
Oh, wild.
Yeah, my first job was down in Mexico, and then they saw my work, and then I ended up going to California. I finished off Roseanne, and blah blah blah.
Holy crap.
And then my work visa ran out, and then I came back, and then started doing features in Canada, and
Roseanne, I couldn't remember. I was like, you worked on some huge show and then your visa ran out. It was Roseanne.
That's wild.
what it was,
Okay,
yeah.
sorry. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know all this. But I was going to ask you a question. So being a D&D fan most of your life, working in film and working on crazy stuff, does Ready to Roll have a different sort of like the subject matter of the show you're working on have more appeal to you because you're fascinated by D&D, like, and you're a fan of D&D?
well, it's funny because every region within North America, if you go somewhere, they're basically, I wouldn't say they have like a certain style of show that they do, but when you land somewhere, they do more westerns than spaceships.
Oh,
then
yeah.
you go somewhere else, they'll do more spaceships than modern. And then you'll go somewhere and then you'll do modern and blah, 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 right? When I have moved to Vancouver, Vancouver's actually quite interesting, where it does have a lot of diversity in their film world. Of course, we don't do that many westerns, but we do have a couple western towns. I have had the opportunity to work on some medieval fantasy shows.
Oh, okay.
And then, but when talking to Noor and stuff, I do have a passion for the game itself and everything. So when he did bring this place up and for me to come and take a look, it definitely piqued my interest for sure.
Ah, right on. Oh, Roz, you got something?
I have two good questions from the chat.
Sweet.
And starting with Becky with cheese. She's curious about the training. Like, how many courses have you guys had to do in order to, get to where you are? But also, I'm curious if you have to stay up to date on anything in particular. Like, do you got to go yearly on anything, or do you just keep learning as you go, or depends on what you need to do?
I'd say it's really like, I went to school. I don't think you have to go to school. Training wise, like, yeah, there's some certificates you have to get, but those are like 1 hour classes type thing. Really it all comes down to paying attention on set.
Yeah.
Work on a set, pay attention to how things are done, ask the right questions, and that's the best schooling I think anyone could ever
learn
have.
the lingo. You have to.
Yeah, for sure.
I swear to God, half of film is knowing what the nicknames for gear is. Like knowing that something isn't just called one name; it has a nickname. Like a 1,000 watt light is also a baby. Like stupid things like
Well,
that. You're like,
1,000 watt for now is a
or-
baby.
Yes.
1,000 watt open face is a redhead.
Yeah, exactly.
I think lingo and set, learning how to
Or 2K baby.
like not survive, that's the wrong word, but like
Yeah.
set etiquette. I'd say is something that, like,
Yeah.
I got a lot out of film school, but none of it was all mostly like how to operate on set, who can I talk to and who can I not talk to.
Yeah, that's a
things
weird
like that.
thing.
As far as like physically what I'm doing, you'll learn much better on the job, I think, than you will in any classroom.
Yeah, it becomes muscle memory. Like
Yeah.
The more you do it, the better you get at it, and then the faster you get at it. You get better before you get faster, and then once you get better, then you just repeat it over and over again, then you get faster at it.
I mean, there are certain certifications for like if you depending on your position, like you were saying, there's different things you need for like you said, a telehandler. Film uses a lot of really large boom lifts that go like 120 feet in the air, and you have to be certified to operate that. Otherwise, you're going to kill somebody or yourself.
I'm curious. This is a question for Chuck, because I know with lighting, you really do have to, like lights are changing, the interfaces are changing, programming is coming into it. Like there are things that you have to stay up to date on.
Mm-hmm.
With gripping, so much of it is just physics. That physics doesn't change. So besides learning a new technique, it's not like how to rig something up isn't going to change in 20 years. Unless they invent a new piece of gear, but like it's so physics based that I just assume that.
Well, I don't want to
doesn't change
date
that much.
myself. I don't want to date myself, but when I first started, there was a movie I ended up working on. It was called Rat Race.
Oh, nice.
Love Rat Race.
And during that show, that was still when we were still doing rear projection. And green screen, no one was really doing it because it was so expensive, not only just to get the fabric, but to set it up, to actually get the fabric if it was even available, because no one was producing it. And then just the visual effects alone, just to make that happen. I'm old. So while we were doing some of the scenes while they're doing their driving, when they're all trying to race across the country and stuff, and I still remember this to my day, is when they had Mr. Bean and the guy from Seinfeld, whatever his name is, in there in the front, like, what do you got in the back?
Newman? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a heart.
What are you hauling in the back? We're hauling ass. And I was just laughing to myself, and we were doing the whole fucking thing to make it look like we're driving and stuff, and it was rear projection. But the rear projection that we were doing, whoever shot it down in LA, it was wrong.
Oh.
So here we are. So now we can't match what we had. So the key grip that was on the show, Lloyd Moriarty, he was actually Cameron's key grip.
James Cameron.
Yeah.
Oh, dope.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, that's his guy.
Oh,
And
cool.
we still talk to each other. We get Christmas cards and stuff. It's fun. Anyway, but Lloyd, he's like, and he had the 10,000 mile stare of a grip. He had his own chair. He would sit in the chair, and he was like true American. A little too big to be a grip, I think, but he still was this amazing guy. And he was all stiff and just beat the hell, but fucking awesome guy. And he would just sit down in the chair, and he's like, we're gonna have to turn that into a green screen. And we had this huge projection, right? Like, fuck, how are we gonna get a green screen? Because at that time, to even order that piece was super hard to do.
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing was actually finding that picture of green screen, throw it in the rear projector, throw it up on the
So
the
you're
rear
projecting
projection.
green screen.
Yeah. And then that was my first real thing, like, oh my God, we're doing green screen. This is amazing. Yeah, and now it's like, all right. So like when you were talking about the upside down pyramids and stuff, I have, I don't know, 800 feet of blue screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how times have changed, right? Like
Yeah.
it was amazing. We had 20 by 20
Yeah,
blue,
yeah.
and now I have like 1,000 feet of blue screen. It's like,
But
all
it's
right,
also-
whatever. You know what I mean? Like that's,
Yeah.
I see a progression.
It's coming around full circle for sure, because now blue and green screen are on the way out.
Yeah, they totally are.
and digital LED walls are really, maybe I'll look back on this and laugh, but I think in 2 years' time, as soon as there's a large facility built in the different film meccas around the world, there's no blockbusters are going to use green screen anymore. All large budgeted blockbuster films are going to be shot using LED walls instead of green screen.
I've only seen it once, and
Mandalorian is what you're talking about, I assume?
no.
Oh.
I was on.
You've actually physically. Okay.
We've actually used it, rigged it, and had to rent it because you can't really buy it at the time and stuff. And I've done it for like live bands and stuff. Like when you go Pink Floyd or whatever, they have 200-foot walls or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've never actually seen it in film because it is quite expensive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up getting, there's a movie that came to town, and I knew it was going to be an action movie. So usually, if it's a TV show, like CW or something, I always go for main unit. But if it's a feature and it's an action movie, I always go second unit, because that's where all the action is,
Yeah.
Yep.
right? Yeah, and there's so many people on a feature, you don't really get to know them anyway. But on second unit, that's all action, right? Like, anyway, lots of stories there. But moving on, so my first day on this show, we show up to this converted piece of shit fucking building right by the P&E, and I'm excited. I'm super excited. We unload these trucks, we roll in, we open up the doors, we have all our carts, and we go in, and we're doing Deadpool.
Oh, yeah.
And my first day is we have the car, and that's like when Deadpool's fighting inside the car.
Yep.
You know, like what they sold, what they leaked to actually get it made.
Yeah.
So my first day, we're doing that. That's my first day, is fighting in this car. And I walk in, and it's all surrounded by
It was early
LED
LED
walls.
wall, yeah.
Oh, it was LED wall.
Yeah, I helped.
Were they?
You were rigging that?
I helped rig that, yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Because as I understand it, were they tracked to the camera at the time, or they were still a fixed image that played on the screen?
They had to monitor the tracking of the camera for
Yeah.
sure.
Now with Unreal, with the newest Unreal update, what's projected or what's playing on the LED walls is literally 4-point tracked essentially to the map box. So what you move, the screen moves in real time with you.
Yeah, because when we were
Wild.
doing, like, there's actually a company and a couple of good friends of mine that work for this VisFX company, and we were doing Once Upon a Time, that TV show, right?
Yeah.
And before that, we were on V, and that they kept bringing the same product with them as we were going on. It was called the Zeus, and on the camera, they would have a camera, like their monitoring system that would go straight up.
Oh, yeah.
And then you'd have all the tracking markers up on the roof. So when we were, and we actually and we had the same thing on World of Warcraft, really. So when we would shoot, it would just follow the tracking up there, and everything would already be synced up with us. It was quite amazing.
It would move with the camera.
100%.
Interesting. Okay.
World of Warcraft also had like a whole bunch of little cameras mounted everywhere, like in all of the fake trees in that set.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of cameras. Like I helped rig all the Cat 5 that went to all those cameras, and they used all of those to monitor like tracking points.
So
I did orcs. Orcs. That was orc unit. Every time we had an orc, that was me.
So you guys, you both worked on. Did you two ever work together before here?
No, well,
That's
because
crazy.
I was
You're generally rigging, and I'm generally on set.
Ah.
well. I mean, yeah, the shows that I was
Set grips. Set grips,
Film grips,
session
drummers.
drummers, and pool.
So for Deadpool and Warcraft, I was rigging, but I've also done a bunch of second units on big features. Like I was on.
Yeah, word. And main units. We worked on main units.
Yeah, we
together
worked on
and
main
stuff.
units as well. It's just we were never on the same unit.
Yeah, it's funny how you can work on the same show and not meet people. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Which is not something we get here.
Well, here's the story. Can I tell this story real quick?
Probably.
So,
I mean, I hope so.
so I was moving around here for the first 5 years, like big show, bam, 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 just like I'm working. I need to make some money. So one day I went to the bar, and down on Commercial
Where
Drive.
is this going?
Oh yeah, no, and and I had a table of potential friends, and I couldn't handle it, so I needed help. So then I saw Fat Matt, one of the electrics in town, and Fat Matt had his buddy, and they came in. I'm like, Fat Matt, come give me a hand. Like, I need help here. So Fat Matt had Adam with them, and they sat down with me, and Fat Matt was too drunk, and I started talking to Adam. I thought Adam was just a normal guy. So me and Adam, we hung out for 6 months. We never talked about work. And then one day we're sitting there having a drink, and he's like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a grip. What do you do? And he's like, I'm a rigging grip. And we were on the same show.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we were on the same show, and we just never saw each other. Because when you're on Tron, you have like 700 people, right?
Yeah.
700 people.
Yeah, and if they're working, the next set ahead of you.
100%, right?
Yeah.
He was the rigging grip, and I was on set, and I'm just like, no way. And there we are, we're friends.
So, how do you feel about the environment that we have here? Like, all of you guys, how do you guys feel about working in the skeleton crew? Where across the board, all departments are very minimalized, and we've only got one big project on the scale of Ready to Roll that's like anything like any of the big stuff we've worked on, anywhere near. This kind of a thing where we're with the same people all the time, do you prefer it, actually knowing all the people, or how do you like the environment?
The only thing that I have a complaint with, and it's nothing to do with the company or the people that I work with, 1 year ago we had a world event that changed a lot of things.
Oh, yeah. You don't say.
Yeah. And I don't think it's the company or the people that we work with or whatever. It's because of the world event that we're in a situation where if we needed a couple of more dudes or dudettes to actually make this this one scene epic and take our time and just throw everything at the wall.
You can't just get the help in a moment's notice.
No, you can't. You can't just go, you can't call the hall. We need 2 dudes. You can't do that, right?
Yeah, that's
so the company's fine. What we're shooting is fine. The people here are fine. It's the world event that slows us down.
Yeah. That's very true.
That's
It
the worst
definitely
part.
is. It's an added layer of challenge for sure.
So,
Hey, Chuck and everybody else, there's still more questions from the chat. There was 2 questions a while ago. You guys have
God.
moved right on because it was really
I'll
cool.
save this one
And there
then.
were excellent stories about tables full of potential friends. But people are curious because we mentioned a bit about, some of your other experience with live action events and theater, but we're talking mostly about film. But for each of you, what is the difference in your world about doing live events versus film production, which is a totally different kettle of fish?
Oh, right. Well, I mean, my live event experience has all been as a performer, and as an actor, I started on stage, but getting into film, it's a very different type of acting. You need to. It's all about nuance, and it's not about big. And you don't have the reaction to feed off for your performance. That if you're altering or you're playing to a different audience, doing the same thing every night, then you feed off their energy, and there's give and take with the audience. Versus with the camera, something I've always found very funny about film is everyone else on set is being very serious about being very quiet. And if you're doing something like comedy, where if it's a live audience, it's like you get feedback, you're being funny, but you can be sort of trying to pay attention to see if someone goes, and you're like, God, this is working. You're aware of it, but otherwise you don't get any feedback until after a take. So while you're in it, you're kind of, it's both easier to commit to the moment and harder you don't get the same payoff until you see the finished product.
But you're also, in this case, you're another layer separated, because films aren't normally made the way we're making D&D. All of your inflections and everything is decided ahead of time for you, pretty much.
Yes, this show in particular is bizarre. It's
Have you found an instance where you're able to, where you maybe change your mind about what you meant at the table, but you can, because you can't change it in your voice now, but you can maybe change it in body language? I don't know, is that a thing?
Yeah, there's moments where you can add embellishment. but I'm doing my best to study what happened at the table and
Like, why did I say it that way?
and recreate it
Yeah.
and re-experience what I was thinking also, because like you have to try and portray what the character's not only saying but thinking.
Yeah.
And why you're like, and try to find the honesty in the moment of what you were trying to find out. Like if I'm like grilling somebody and trying to ask questions of, hey, you seem suspicious. Like I have to remember being suspicious and why I was suspicious of that person in that moment. So that's a weird thing because it's recreation and that's not typical.
No.
Yeah, and lip syncing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So in those moments, like, do you feel that you have, I guess you're limited in your creativity with like your expressions and stuff. Your expressions have to match what you were thinking at the table, so you don't have the freedom to.
There's some freedom in it, especially in the moments where you're there and other people are at the wheel. So like if one of your other castmates is sort of leading that moment and you were just sitting there letting them play, but like you're there, you can't just stand there and. I mean, you can just listen and just sit there, or you can find something to do. And like, oh, I'm suspicious, or oh, I have an itch. Like, I don't know. You can pick little motivations in that moment, and they kind of it's fun to look for that. That's what you get to do in the recreation that you didn't do at the table. But you also have to be careful not to screw it up so that it makes sense with what happened at the table. It's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
It was funny because Caleb and myself, we were laughing today. He's like, what was Trevor's all over the scripts. I'm like, oh yeah, it was pretty awesome because that's kind of when I kind of rolled in. And when you guys had to translate, 2,000 papers into written word, it was awesome.
Oh yeah,
It was awesome.
It's like, who wants to do this? Who wants to do this? Just divvying it out amongst the crew. Yeah.
It's rough. Turning it into an actual script is an interesting process because it's all improvised in the moment, right? Like we have to turn it into a script that we can use to shoot the thing that's a challenge. That's probably the hardest part of this whole thing. Because what we needed for continuity for all the different departments was a transcript of everything that happened. Because we have the video footage of the gameplay happening and you can reference that. But to be able to be like, what was happening here? And we tried to use I can't remember what it was called, Otter.com or something. And it, yeah. So it but because there's multiple voices talking at the same time, it would like completely
it would give you some funny things. Yeah,
so
for
a lot
sure.
of people here jumped in and helped out and would like listen through the episode and like basically do a proofread and change everything that did the initial pass of. But when I'm doing the script for this, I actually have to put into someone's dialogue every so like all the pauses and misspeaks or like Alen plays Elendar and Alen has a stutter and I had to ask him, are you comfortable with me writing your stutter into the dialogue? And he said yes. And I was like, oh, people are gonna read this and think I'm an asshole because I write like and it's like, oh, he wrote his stuff. Like, so I was like, I gotta check with him because I feel weird, but he's totally cool with it. Yeah. It's not like something that does it exist? No.
Because it was like 2 months of you, like we're talking thousands.
Yeah. It was a long time.
Thousands of fucking pages to write up.
Oh yeah,
it was like I'd show up upstairs and everyone's just like headsets, just trying to type, and then you can see when they're getting frustrated and they're just like, oh my god. And then they back up, and then you can see them still trying to catch up. It was crazy.
I will say that I've only lit one live event, and while like I'm a cinematographer, it's my dream. It's what I want to do. I love film. It's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. I will say that I lit an album release party for Mariba, an artist named Mariba in Los Angeles, and it was really rewarding to light something and like what I'm seeing, everyone is seeing. So there's like with film, there's what we're shooting and what we're seeing and what everyone's seeing. And I will argue that probably 50% of the image comes from color correction. There's so much to be done in color correction. And a lot of people don't know about that. A lot of people know about movies look like, and they see your dailies and they're like, oh, why doesn't it? It's like, no, there's so much to be, just as much as was done on set, there's that much to be done to the image after the fact. So it's a big thing of like, there is like this stress of like, oh, I know so-and-so's thinking this or so-and-so's thinking that, but it's like, that will all be, like, I know what it will look like, but no one else knows what it looks like until after I'm done color correcting it. Whereas when I lit the live event, it's like, oh, this looks exactly, like you're seeing exactly what I'm seeing. I love it, you love it, we all love it, let's move on type thing, da-da-da. So that was a lot more rewarding, like it was a quick reward.
Yeah.
Whereas
That's the same with live
I love film, but it's one of those things where it's like, you know, like, people don't really know what it looks like until after it's color corrected.
Yeah.
And right now it's just like, it's in my head and it doesn't really exist in anyone else's.
There's so many steps until you get to the finished product.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like judging a sculptor for a block of clay.
Exactly. Oh, this block looks square. It's like, oh, but trust me.
No, there's a goat in there. I see.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, we were talking about the set with the truss above it with the telehandler, and so we played our gameplay on a 360-degree set. Which, has anyone ever worked on something where they had to shoot in 360 before?
I had not. Usually there would be like a portion of it that they stop. And
Yeah.
that's like, so it's like 270 is the most that I had ever worked on before. 360 was like, this is insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. It was a. Who figured out how to do that? I can't, because I wasn't.
Oh, it was a group effort. Like it was the kind of thing where we watched other shows that were out there for people playing D&D, and we were like, the camera's all just static all the time. It's quite dull. Like we want to move the cameras and have it be really dynamic and interesting. And then it came down to a combination of, because I mean, we still could have done that with like something similar to this, where we're still only shooting in one direction, right? But it came down to, there was like evolution of the weird meta story we mentioned last week.
Oh, right.
About being trapped in a castle tower and all that stuff.
I completely forgot
It was
about
actually
that.
a spaceship. Yeah, like weird shit. And then it was a matter of also wanting to, because it's one take, it's live and improvised, and we wanted to have coverage of everybody. I remember at one point I was saying, like, why don't we just do like a poker game? Like when you're watching poker on TV and there's just a camera here on everybody. So we would have at least a single of everybody at every time. And then we could also have, but we ended up with the robots that were up on the side getting the wides.
I think
so
we had
that
7
coverage.
cameras total.
We had
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5.
There was the robot, human,
And there was a top
and then
down.
there was top.
top down,
So
six.
6.
6. Yeah, and then and lighting for 360 is super weird.
It was super weird.
Yeah, because normally you're trying to play with shadow as well.
Yeah,
and
but we had to go with a lot of soft fill because everything has to be evenly lit for every camera.
I will say that what we did, that was one of the cases where in the beginning we kind of tried to reinvent the wheel, and then we had all these conversations. Then when it came down to it, it's like, wait a second, this is just a scene of people at a dinner table.
Yeah.
Like we all light scenes with people at dinner tables, just light it the same way we've always done it. And then we ended up doing that and it worked great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in the beginning we were like, we wanted to give everyone this like different shape, and it's like, but then it works for here, but then when we're over here, how are we gonna, and like, it was just crazy. Like we were talking about switching it was like this whole thing. I was like, wait a second, why are we doing all this? Like, this is just a dinner table scene. We've all done this. Let's just do it that way. It worked out.
And we also had some cool little lighting tricks that transitions and stuff within a room to make it so it didn't look the same all the time, which is very cool stuff that you will see when you watch the gameplay eventually. Roz, you had your hand up?
I do. I have a question from the chat. Okay, there's another time where we got a couple questions going on here. But the first one that I'm most curious about is, what's your favorite item from another set or film production or a series? And I mean, they put it in quotes, but that you purchased from that set that you haven't.
We stole from other sets.
What's your favorite piece of memorabilia from another set?
I got it's like a poster for a quest in Warcraft. 'Cause Set Deck was just going to trash them all, and they had printed like a whole bunch of them to put up around the castle and stuff, right? So I got one. It's a really early on quest in Warcraft where you have to find chickens for like a cockleaky soup, and I got it framed in this like old looking frame, and it's up on my wall.
Nice.
It's like right by the kitchen.
Jackie Chan's sword from Shanghai Noon.
Oh, that's pretty wicked.
Whoa.
That's a big find, buddy. You purchased that, I assume.
Don't we all purchase our items?
Do I? I don't know that I have.
I don't have anything actually.
I don't know that I have.
I don't have anything.
Got swag, but I don't think I have any. Ash had a really cool thing. Oh, maybe I don't know if I should. Yeah, screw it. She had Lucifer's cigarette holder, like one of those like fancy cigarette packs that you put your smokes in. So she would smoke out of that for quite a while. That thing was dope.
You get a call from for the set of Lucifer.
She's looking at me off camera.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just outed you.
You get the knife eyes.
Yeah, I don't have anything. There was a period of time. Maybe did you ever come across the? There was a wedge that someone burned into it on loan from the gripology department of Vancouver Grips. It was this weird wedge,
the
and
wedge
people
that goes
signed the
around?
back of it, and it just went around for years on
I've
set.
heard tale of this.
I
but
signed the
have not
back
seen
of that, and that
Oh,
was
nice.
I don't have anything that I've taken, but I know that's wedge. I don't know. Maybe it's lost in the mud somewhere, or it's still out there, and my name's on it. And I like that, but I actually don't have anything. Yeah, I've never really.
Yeah, I don't think I pinched anything off set.
I was on a wanted poster in the background of When Calls the Heart, but.
Oh, you know what I do have? The coolest thing I have is I kept part of my costume from the first movie I ever did after I got out of film school, where I was the killer in a horror movie. And I have like, and it still has the blood on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, which is gross, but whatever. Don't judge me. You had another one, Rose?
Yeah, people really want to know what Keddy's hair routine is.
Which camera am I talking to? Because this is all seriousness now, right? There we go. Okay, here you go. Listen to me. I'll take this down to emphasize. Maybe not. I'll leave it back up. Co-wash. That's all I'm going to say. Co-wash.
Co-wash.
Shampoo. Forget shampoo exists. It's horrible. It's bad for you. Never shampoo. I haven't shampooed my hair in 2 years. I use conditioner every single night. I co-wash. So I use conditioner literally every day. 365 days out of the year, I'm conditioning my hair and I'm never touching shampoo. And that's how you do it. Also, having a black mother really helps.
I feel very singled out by the chat with the 3 bald guys on set. Next to Kenny. Thanks for emphasizing the societal importance of hair.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Someone also said, don't worry, he also has great eyelashes. So,
Oh, I have fantastic eyelashes. You just can't see
all
them.
around. I've seen you guys in mascara. You look great.
Yeah, right. I wanted to ask, this was actually a question that Victoria came up with, which I thought was pretty cool. What's the coolest shot that you've ever been a part of pulling off on set?
Oh. So I was working on, what was the name of that? Tomorrowland.
Oh.
And there was this like time-lapse scene, and it was on second unit, and we had like a sun that was an RE Max, which is this giant light, it's like 18,000 watts, and it moved along a track where it actually was lifting up and then coming down, and it was all timed, and the actors had to time all of their movements, like awesome shot. And it ended up on the cutting room floor.
Oh.
We spent like a week shooting it.
Oh,
Yeah, awful.
that's lame.
And they had an amazing translate that was probably like $20,000.
Oh, at least.
It was insane.
Damn. Chuck?
Just one off the top of the head. I know Kitty likes this story. We were doing a Western, and we had a set of tracks, and then we had a train. And it was all night, and we're going to be doing
Yeah,
this
to say Western, you got to tell them what it is.
I will. And then, so we're doing this train heist, and so we have lights everywhere. We have condors, and like everything is out in the bush, up and down the tracks. Like we have so much power out. And when we show up, the DP's like, no, just throw a 4K on the train. So we went up and we mounted this. And it was you have to remember, this is a Western, so it's like an 1810 train or whatever. It's amazing steam and everything. So we're up there and we can't wreck it. We can't screw into it.
Oh.
We mount this light up there and it's like this big 4K. And we shot the whole scene off of one 4K.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I love that there's so much stuff and it came down to, no.
Yeah, no, we had thousands of lights out and that's the only thing we used.
The coolest thing is, so he's talking about the assassination of Jesse James by the coward, not Robert Redford, Robert
Ford.
Yeah. So Roger
Very different movie. It's got time travel in it.
Roger Deakins is my idol. Like I think he's the best working cinematographer today. I think he's the best working cinematographer of film history. I think he's just he's the best of the best. So this story that Chuck's talking about, I've actually read about this.
Oh.
So much, way before I ever meet. This idea of I knew that they did this scene and they had a bunch of stuff rigged and like I read that Deakins and his gaffer kind of had like a tiff about turning the lights off and finally they did it with this one light. And then to get to work with Chuck, who was like, oh yeah, I was there, and like to get to hear the story directly, it's near and dear to my heart. This man has worked with Deakins.
Roger is amazing.
By all accounts,
nice.
yeah.
Talk to me every day. Talk to all of us. Give me his
I hear he's an
email.
awesome guy, and he's just the
respect
best
that.
You
light
ever have a question?
artist
He always
there is.
will answer.
Yeah.
Like if I ever have a question, I email him. He answers right away.
Oh, wow.
Nice guy.
Don't give Kenny the email.
No, Deakins has a forum that he's like very active on. You ask him like, and not like granted like you create an account. I have an account there, and you get like the more questions that you get ask and he answers, you get like a point thing. But no matter how many points you have, he'll answer your questions. It's really
amazing.
cool. Yeah.
Wow.
You can add like, hey, this scene did it. What fixture did you have in the tub? And he'll just be like, oh, either I can't remember, let me call my gaffer, and then he'll update it in like 2 days. Like this guy really he's awesome. Deakins is amazing at his craft, and from all accounts, just an awesome human being, and really like, there's this weird kind of gatekeepiness with DPs and their lighting setups, and as if any of us are doing anything that someone else hasn't done.
Yeah.
And Deakins is just so anti that. He's like, how do you want to know? You want to know how I did what I did? Here's exactly how it was done. He's like, he has this weird mentality where he doesn't think of himself as an artist. He likes to think of himself as just a technician, which I completely disagree because I think he's a brilliant artist. But yeah, he's just super cool with like, he'll share any bit of his craft that you want to know about, he'll answer the
Anyone
question.
who thinks of themselves as an artist is probably an asshole.
There you go, true. I guess you can't say I'm an artist. Yeah.
He's not gonna be like that guy.
He's not gonna be
Somebody
that
like,
great,
"Oh,
yeah.
Just a technician is like going to be a good person.
Yeah.
And easy to talk to and someone you can learn from and that kind of a thing. Anyone who presents themselves as an artist. Oh boy.
But in that show, and you watch it when Brad Pitt's naked in the tub where he dies and all that stuff. So we're on top of this hill. We built this set, and we have one light, pitch black, and 2-part story. I was just sitting outside watching the Northern Lights kind of dance around, and I'm just sitting on the back porch, and Roger comes sits beside me. He's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "That's Northern Lights." He's like, he's never seen it before until that night. So we just sat there and watched for 20 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then he's like, then they're like, "Where's Roger?" Oh, and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go back." So he goes back. But then in that, when he's in the tub, and there's that big hot light on him.
Yeah.
Well, that was one light outside the window, and it was so windy that night, full stick, mambo, all the way up. And it was so windy that night, the light was moving like this.
Oh.
And we're like, you can't have that. So, so it's a feature. So we brought in all the work trucks to make a wind barrier.
Wow.
Moving.
Oh.
So we had to go up there, start tying draw lines, draw. It was insane for this one single light that lit the one set.
Yeah.
We had 40-foot trucks, 10 tons, 300 feet of rope. It was crazy. And he'd be like, "We can't shoot." And we're up there just like trying to, it was nuts. It was like only 20 feet in the air too. And it was all of us were just going nuts. Yeah.
I have a lot of other questions, but sadly, we're out of time.
Oh, wow.
That always happens when I'm on the show.
It happens like crazy. I spent so much time, I was like, oh man, what are we going to talk about? And I actually wrote a lot of stuff today.
Yeah.
Very upsetting. But before we go, thank you guys for being here. Before we go, we do have to do one more thing. We have a new member of, please check. we have a new member of the AFL family that we would like to introduce to the world.
Oh my God!
Oh.
Puppy.
So this is Shannon and this is Knight.
Hello, Knight.
Oh.
He's so good.
Oh, hi, Knight.
Hi, buddy.
Is Ghost jealous?
He's a little bit jealous, yeah.
I saw the picture of Ghost and Knight playing and I was like,
Yeah,
oh.
they get along really well outside and inside not as much.
Oh,
A
okay.
little bit jealous inside still.
These ghosts growl at him.
Yeah.
It's been like a week.
Yeah.
Look at that face.
Yeah.
How could you ever stay mad at that face?
So, Shannon, real quick, you got this puppy for a purpose, though, right?
I did, yeah.
And what is that?
So he's my sport dog. I'm planning on competing in a whole bunch of sports. So PSA, dock diving, hopefully like some detection stuff like nose work, tracking.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Did you select his breed on purpose, or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the breed to have for my sport.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right on. So potentially we'll have more in the future as Knight, ages and is trained up in a bunch of various awesome skills and isn't just the most adorable puppy ever. So thank you guys for joining us. Last week I said we had a mech vlog coming. We had some technical difficulties, but it is coming next week now on Monday. So stay tuned for that, and you'll finally see the result of a really crazy mech suit that we talked about in a previous episode. Other than that, next week we'll see you back on Filthy Talk. I can't remember what else is happening. Until then, stay filthy.